Second loop, let's go!
Turns out that if you have beaten the game before with your current team and decide to go the other way, one of the heroines notices a door that's still been left open, and Rei-sen's like, "Are you serious? I left that door open? Is that the one I came through? Because if it is, I'm gonna be one pissed off ninja rabbit from the moon." Also, my master will be upset. Has that ever happened to anyone? You're going to do something and you open and close a lot of doors or drawers or whatever, you're hard at work, and then when you go to leave and when some random person points out that you left something open, it's the very first thing you open. I bet that's what happened. So before the mid-boss, these two stage 6s look very alike, don't they? Repeated enemy patterns, similar build-ups, etc., so I'm just gonna speed it up a little. The only real differences are obviously the boss battles themselves and the direction you're headed in. I'm starting to wonder if all of Ayante's hallways lead out into space, or at least a majority of them. Guess who's back, Aiden? That's right! And this time there's no little fool you tricks either! Well, her non-spell is still pretty frightening. That's Yomu level pain right there. Maybe even past Yomu level. Ugh. Fortunately, there's only one of them we have to deal with instead of 5, and then Earth in a Pot's older sister, Galaxy in a Pot. Veterans of Imperishable Night that watch stages 5 and 6A already know that I skimped on certain details. Those certain details also involve a key person which we've yet to meet, at least as far as Touhou 101 is concerned. Why do I keep repeating myself? This is the same thing I said in stage 5. Oh, there it is! The full moon! We've done it! Now we just have to find a way to undo Aiden's magic and we're good as gold. Or have we already undone it? Hey, I remember you! You're the girl that interfered last time! Well, payback time! Who here is familiar with the tale of the bamboo cutter? Probably 3/4 of you if I had to guess. It's a pretty popular folktale. For the rest of you, the story goes something like this. Once upon a time, there was an old man that, as you may have realized already, cut bamboo for a living. One day he came across a glowing stalk of bamboo. He cut it open and found a miniature child embedded in the stalk, who he subsequently adopted. The child, named Kaguya-hime, grew abnormally quickly, as fast as the bamboo she was found in, becoming a beautiful young woman within months. Such was her beauty that the rumors spread throughout the whole of Japan, and men were looking all over the country for her. Only 5 ever succeeded for finding her. And for months on end they pestered the bamboo cutter and his wife, asking for Kaguya-hime's hand in marriage. Not knowing what to do, she settled on the concept of a treasure hunt. The items she requested were the following: a stone bowl of Buddha from India, a branch bearing jewels on the mountain of Hourai, the skin of a fire rat from China, the jewel of a dragon said to shine in 5 different colors, and a cowrie shell from a swallow's egg. These 5 items came to be known as the impossible requests, due to no one ever being able to find even one of them despite their prior confidence. As this was going on, the Emperor eventually caught word of Kaguya-hime, and invited her to his palace. However, she refused, stating that she would be killed if she went. So instead, he went to visit her, and although she still refused to court him, they developed a good rapport and sent each other letters from time to time. One night, the bamboo cutter and his wife came across Kaguya-hime staring at the moon and grieving. It turned out that eventually she would have to return to the moon, and she was torn between that and the people she had gotten to know on Earth, most notably her earthen parents and the Emperor. The bamboo cutter informed the Emperor of this, and on the night she was to return, he sent 2,000 archers to the bamboo cutter's house to help defend her. However, all of them were awestruck at the sight of a group of people riding clouds approaching them. They remained unopposed all the way up to Kaguya-hime's hiding spot, which opened up immediately, and they presented her with an elixir of immortality and a robe made of feathers. These would cleanse her of the impurities she had accrued from living on Earth. Before she did, however, she wrote one last letter to both her parents and the Emperor, and left them mementos before wearing the robe of feathers and forgetting everything that had happened. No one from Earth saw her again after she was taken into the sky. The bamboo cutter and his wife, who were bequeathed Kaguya-hime's usual robes, were terribly distraught, and understandably so. The Emperor, who had received the elixir, did not want to live forever, and so he ordered a party to take the elixir up to the peak of the mountain closest to heaven, and burn it there. You may be familiar with this mountain. Nowadays it's called Mount Fuji. It's said that its smoke continues to climb to this day. And so, as you're fighting this girl based on the girl from the tale of the bamboo cutter, you're also combating the 5 impossible requests from the same story. That is monumental, because it's the first time Zun has incorporated such a large amount of folklore into his story, or even such a famous story in itself. This Kaguya holds power over both eternity and the instant. What do I make of this? The majority of this is beyond my understanding, but it seems the most similar to Sakuya's time manipulation abilities, since the words eternity and instant are both used in the sense of a period of time. Perfect Memento implies that it was Kaguya's manipulation of eternity that kept Ayante from being seen for so long. How I think it went is something like this. When Kaguya and Eirin arrived on Earth, neither of them had any clue about anything the humans or yokai had done up to that point in time. And likewise, the humans and yokai had no idea that Lunarians had landed on their planet. Kaguya's ability allowed that point in time and the perspective of both parties to extend indefinitely for over 1,000 years. They would have gone for much, much longer if Eirin weren't concerned about the Lunarians being able to bring Kaguya back to the moon, and had sealed the Earth in a chamber to keep them away. Now, about that. It turns out that Eirin never did anything to the moon, much less steal it. She merely put the Earth in that container to obstruct a direct line of eye contact with the full moon, thus corrupting, finger quotes, the moon. The full moon is what allows Lunarians to visit Earth. The yokai caught on to her magic, and that brings us to our current situation. Of course, it is also because of Kaguya's ability that her and Eirin didn't realize that they were eventually surrounded by the Hourai border, so the Lunarians wouldn't have been able to reach them even if Eirin had done nothing. Now, what brought this about? Why have three girls been hiding in an eternal mansion surrounded by a bamboo forest for over a millennium? It all started with a small act of curiosity. Kaguya, back then living the life of a sheltered princess on the... Okay. Kaguya, back then, living the sheltered life of a princess on the moon and not really seeing the consequences of her actions, had Eirin create a medicine forbidden to consume, named the Hourai Elixir. This medicine made one immortal, meaning that person lives on no matter how many times they are killed. And, well, Kaguya drank the elixir. She was soon found out and executed, but no matter how many times they tried, the princess revived immediately. As an alternative, they banished her from the moon and sent her to live amongst the humans on Earth as punishment. From there, an old man found her, and this is where the tale of the bamboo cutter kicks in. However, a few years later, whereas the original Kaguya Hime was taken back to the moon without incident, Eirin empathized for Kaguya because she was only interested in it. She didn't have any hand in actually making it like Eirin did. So when Kaguya didn't want to go back to the moon, Eirin murdered the other lunar emissaries and fled with Kaguya in tow. Together they took refuge in an abandoned mansion, which you now know as Ayante, and used Kaguya's eternity manipulation to practically forgo the next 1,200 years or so, with the exception of one event. About 85 years after Gensokyo was created, in the year 1969, Reisen came to them, looking to get away from the lunar war following Apollo 11, and Kaguya adopted her as a pet. Oh, that's adorable. And there you have it. An overview of everything I've been keeping from you since Stage 5. On to personal opinions. Even as a final boss, Kaguya is one of those bosses that gets more flack than I think she should. When compared to Eirin, she's widely seen as the weaker of the two, which leads to depictions of clinginess and overdependence. And while she is indeed weaker, with Eirin only limiting herself out of respect for Kaguya, the latter can certainly hold her own as well, as we'll see in a moment. As a matter of fact, not only does she have far more spell cards than Eirin does, but in this boss fight, Eirin is nowhere to be seen. Not only that, but in this case of a Frozen Knight, this is right up Kaguya's alley. She can use her ability to undo the spell the heroines cast to freeze time. Remember back in Stage 1 when I said that score-wise, one part of the game was very, very important? This would be that part. Kaguya's Imperishable Knight's End series of spell cards. I say series because you have to face 5 of them in a row. They're all survival spells too, so don't bother shooting at this point. Should you fail to capture these spells, not only will you lose out on a large chunk of points, but you'll also lose a small bit of the Imperishable Knight as indicated by the clock on the top right of the field. Remember, once that clock hits 5 AM, that's it, your game's over, no continues. Actually, you can't use continues against Kaguya anyway, what am I saying? And technically the game's beaten before you reach these spells, so... For every half hour left on the clock after Imperishable Knight's End, you get a 20 million point bonus on top of the usual stage clear bonus, so if you're a high level score runner, you definitely want to learn to get to practicing these spells, because these can make or break your runs. These spells are actually pretty tough, especially the second and third ones, but that just may be my opinion. There's only one set of spells that are tougher overall, and those would be the Last Words. Last Words, not to be confused with Last Spells, are another set of bonus spell cards that can be unlocked in spell practice by 1, doing well in general, and 2, clearing a set of conditions that varies with each spell.
And Kaguya is defeated.
So yeah, kinda cut it a bit close there, Kanako. No lives and 3 bombs at 4:30 a.m.?
Yeek.
Well, probably better than I could do. You know how long it's been since I practiced Imperishable Night?
Eons.